Dr. Jerry, you got the whole world waiting. Been ready for you to start the conversation. Your point of view, it got the haters confused. Leave it up to you to bring us all the good news. Positive vibes and the sex appeal too. Dr. Andre Jerry, can I get an interview?
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining me for a special holiday edition of Live with Dr. Andre Jerry. Listen, I hope each and every one of you have been enjoying your loved ones this holiday season, keeping an attitude of gratitude, and remembering those who may be away from their loved ones right now. Shout out to our deployed active duty military and civilian personnel who are protecting our freedoms abroad. We sincerely appreciate the sacrifices you guys are making on behalf of our great country. And let's also keep in mind those who may have lost loved ones this year and may be grieving a loss this holiday. Our prayers are with you, and we're sending thoughts of peace and comfort your way. Last but not least, I want to send a special shout out to our incarcerated loved ones who often feel, I'm sure, forgotten and discarded during the holidays. If you're listening, I want to remind you that you are not forgotten. You're in our hearts, and you're loved. Listen, I'm glad you all are tuning in for tonight's show, because we're capping off this year with an awesome interview that I know you guys will enjoy. So, but before I introduce tonight's guest, I want to take a brief moment to express appreciation to my engineer Z-Man for everything he does behind the scenes to make my show a success. A big thank you to each one of my guests that have appeared on the show this year. And of course, much love to my audience for your listenership and your support of the Artists First Network. So now, as promised, we have a very entertaining show this evening. For anyone who knows the real Andre, and putting aside the doctor title and all of that for a moment, I'm a very silly guy. I like to laugh. I like to sometimes make inappropriate jokes, record funny skits, and send them to my friends. You know, anything comedy related, which is why I was super excited to book my next guest for the final show of the year. Now, my next guest is a rare native New Yorker with a Southern charm and a flair for making people laugh. He's made a huge name for himself in the stand-up comedy circuit in the Raleigh-Durham and Charlotte, North Carolina area, and has performed in numerous comedy venues along the East Coast. He's also the host of Date Live with Freddy Valoy, a really interesting dating show where viewers get to slide into contestants' DMs. He's also the host of his own podcast, Fred Talk, which was recently nominated for a comedy award. So please help me welcome the rom-com Don himself, Mr. Freddy Valoy. Freddy, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, Dr. Andre. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem, man. Listen, the pleasure is all mine. I'm excited to finally have you on the show. It feels like we have been planning it forever. But, hey, the good thing is, after tonight, you'll probably only get one DM from me instead of 12 each week. So thanks for putting up with my perfectionist behavior. And, again, thanks for putting us in your date book. We really appreciate it, man.
No, you did a good job. You're very thorough, and you teed it up perfectly. So I'm ready.
All right, well, let's get started. Well, listen, for the first thing I want to do is congratulate you on your recent nominations for the 22 Raleigh Comedy Awards. Your podcast, Fred Talk, was nominated for Best Podcast or Radio Show, and your stand-up show at Nickel Point Brewery, which you co-produce alongside Tyler Wood, was nominated for Best Independent Show. And somehow, you also managed to get nominated for Best Dressed Comedian. Now, that's where I think some funny shit is going on, because either you're banging someone on the nomination committee or one of these people has some type of Hawaiian shirt fetish.
I'm with you, Dr. Andre. Listen, I'm like, I don't put much thought into what I wear. If it has a floral, give me a floral print and some short shorts and some Vans, and that's where I'm going. So I have no idea how I was nominated.
Right. No, but seriously, though, at least 2 of those nominations are well-deserved. So I'm sure you'll snag at least 1, if not more, awards tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right? The awards?
Yeah, it is tomorrow. Tomorrow night are the awards. So I'll let you know. I'll DM you and let you know how it goes.
Okay, awesome. I voted for you yesterday, so hopefully you'll do well tomorrow. But, yeah, excited to hear about how you're doing. So, look, before we get into your comedy exploits, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your backstory, and what kind of got you interested in comedy?
Yeah. Backstory, I'm from Yonkers, New York. For those of you that don't really know what Yonkers is, if you've heard of DMX, Mary J. Blige, Steven Tyler, that we all came from Yonkers. And actually, Mary J. Blige and Steven Tyler went to the same high school as I did, Roosevelt High School, which is kind of cool.
Wow.
I feel like that's a little sign. I feel like I'm right in the middle of them. You know what I'm saying, personality-wise. So, after high school, I moved to North Carolina, where I've spent about the same time. I've been here about 18 years, and I started comedy 5 years ago. I was in the midst of depression, probably at my lowest point in life, and I was like, I got to try something. Yeah, I was like, I got to try something new. And I was listening to Bill Burr's podcast, and one of his listeners had wrote in for some advice. And they asked, how do you start stand-up comedy? He said, write 5 minutes and hit an open mic. And up until that point, I had no idea that that's how you start comedy. I thought you had to, go to some kind of school, know some people that knew somebody. I had no idea. So I was like, you know what? If that's all I got to do, people have told me my whole life that I'm funny. I was like, let me go see if that's true. So I did. I went to an open mic, did pretty good, especially for my first set. And, after that, I mean, I just kept going up almost, multiple times a week. And so now we're here. About 2 years in was where I decided, I was like, I think I can do this. I think I can go for this and try to make it a professional thing. So.
Wow. So this all started with depression and a 5-minute set. That's amazing. That
might be the name of my first special now that I'm thinking about it.
Hey, take it. So I feel like you were a class clown in school. Is that true?
Yes, I was, but I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that until later because everybody in my high school was funny. My high school was wild. I was a class clown, but what saved me was I had really good grades. I graduated 16th in my class in high school, so and I knew when to say the jokes. And then I didn't know until years later when I started comedy, people from my high school started hitting me up, and they were like, "Oh, this makes so much sense that you're doing this. You were one of the funniest dudes in high school." I was like, "Damn, I didn't know I was that funny." And they were like, "No, you were definitely top 5." And I was like, "Wow, I didn't even think I was top 20." So, it just kind of all made sense. It was one of those things where you listen to the universe kind of thing, and it just feels right. You just got to keep going with it.
Wow. It kind of mirrors my story a little bit. So I was the nerd coming up in school, and then something happened, I think, after 10th grade or something like that. I got rid of the glasses and started dressing a little better. And one of the teachers said something to me in class. I can't remember what I said to her, but apparently the class thought it was hilarious. And that was kind of like my first taste of popularity. And so ever since that moment, every class, everybody would look to me to say something just foolish. Oh. And so it just became this thing. And so I went from making A's and B's to making C's and D's because I got so caught up in the popularity. I mean, when you go from being the nerd and all that, then people are switching the flip and the girls are liking you and they're, "Come on, Dre, what are you going to say?" It just went to my head. So I was definitely a class clown, but I was late to the game. 10th grade through 12th grade, just couldn't tell me a damn thing. So
that's good though. That's good. I like that. It is a lot of power being the funny guy. When they're looking to you to bring some levity. So I can see why you went from A's and B's to C's and D's. Right. It's too much fun.
I think I feel like I have pent up jokes and just stuff inside me because I don't know if you went through this, but my grandma was kind of mean. We used to get whoopings for laughing, especially me, because I had this big obnoxious laugh. And so she would either fuss at us or threaten to whoop us if we laughed. Did you go through that at all in your family growing up?
Yes, but I never stopped making jokes. I never stopped. I used to prank my grandmother and get my butt whoopings. It was worth it.
I heard that. So listen, so there's a general sentiment out there, and I feel this way too. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That comedians kind of derive their skill from personal pain or trauma. What are your thoughts on that? And do you use past trauma or personal pain to kind of fuel your creativity when you're on stage? Yeah,
so I do agree with that. It does. It's at least true enough I mean, I don't even know, 8 or 9 out of 10 comedians I know have just had crazy past. And I do think when you have trauma, it makes you more resourceful. Typically, it makes you more creative because you got to figure things out and you got to process. So I definitely could agree with that. It definitely, like, when I talk about my past, I grew up before my father went to prison. He was very abusive to my mother and all that. So those formative years that, like, age, like from ages like, newborn to 8 years old was a very chaotic time for me. And that's very important in, like, child development and all that. So I think that's where I got a lot of this ADHD, funny guy, flighty personality from. And then I started molding it through, like, middle school and high school and stuff like that.
Wow. They tried to put that on me too, that ADHD stuff, and put me on Ritalin. That's when Ritalin first came out or was really hot. So any kid that had any type of behavior issue or was just showing out in class, they just wanted to just kind of blanket put ADHD on them and prescribe them Ritalin. And, that stuff just kind of made me a zombie. It didn't really do anything. I think I still acted a fool even in my zombie state. But, yeah, it's interesting that we kind of both had that same thing going on.
Yeah, they prescribed me Adderall, like, in my late 20s. I was on it for a couple of years, but then, like you said, it changed it. It changed my favorite part about me, my ability to connect with people, my ability to, like, make people laugh. It just made me kind of like, almost like, it was just like a robot. Like, all right, what's the next thing? What am I doing? I turned to, like, a very short, irritable person. I didn't like it, so I got off. And if I work out and meditate, that, helps me manage a lot of the crazy. So.
You don't seem like the meditate type.
Oh, I meditate I would say almost every day, yeah. 20 minutes.
Wow.
I'll meditate in the sauna. I do cold showers, cold plunges if I can get my hands on it, anything, because all that stuff just helps, hone in the crazy energy. So I can, yeah. I
don't know if I can do the cold showers. And I've never taken an ice bath either. That just seems like it's just painful. But I definitely do meditate now. I started maybe 6 months ago, and I started out with 5 minutes, and then I worked my way up to 10, and now I'm at 15. And I just stuck with it. It was crazy at first. I mean, you get all types of thoughts coming to your head, and it's just so hard to quiet your mind. It requires a discipline. So you get better with it over time, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why they call it a meditation practice. And you did a good move by starting with the 5 minutes, because a lot of people think they need to commit to the 20 or whatever, and they're just like, I can't do it. I can't calm my brain. I'm like, if you can't do 5 minutes, start with 1 minute then. 1 minute will get you there. Meditation gives you that extra 1 or 2 seconds before you flip out on somebody. You know what I'm saying? It really does. It really helps in this crazy world.
It really does help ground you. And I feel bad for people who have kids and stuff like that and have like these crazy, hectic households and schedules. It's like, I don't know how they're going to find time. But you can always do it in the car. It doesn't always have to be. I go into my closet, so it kind of doubles as a meditation room, a prayer room. It gives me that ambiance. And sometimes I use the white noise app from my cell phone, but it definitely helps. And I think 20 minutes is a good round number. I don't think I'll try to go beyond that. But yeah, it's definitely helpful. Now I want to talk about, since you've been in comedy for a few years now, I kind of want to learn what your process is before a show. Do you sit out and write things out like a script and then, test it out on stage, or do you kind of just have in your mind what you're going to say and just recall it once you're on stage?
So I do the latter. I don't write anything down. I tried writing when I first started, but I found that when I was on stage, because I have a photographic memory, I was just kind of reading it off the paper that I wrote it on in my head. So it took me out of the moment. So for the last few years, I just go up on stage with a thought and I just start riffing. I just, let it out, and I record my sets, and I keep the funny stuff and I edit where I can, and I'll just keep riffing on it. But my goal for next year is I would like to put pen to paper, just to give it another shot, to see if maybe now I have the tools now to be able to write while still being present on stage. So everybody does it differently too. Bill Burr doesn't write anything. Patrice O'Neill didn't write anything. But then there's George Carlin wrote pen to paper. I don't think Richard Pryor put pen to paper. Yeah, so it just depends on what type of comic you are.
I see. I think if eventually I'm going to try stand-up comedy, I think I'll start off with a 5-minute set and see if I get booed, and just, even if I get booed, I'm going to come back and try it again. I've just always wanted to try that. But I think I would have to write my shit down. I think I would be terrified if I got up there not knowing what I'm going to say, and, God forbid you make not a gaffe, but like this awkward silence for a couple of seconds and like, boo, get off here. So I would have to write my stuff down. But when you have a joke that you are testing and it doesn't quite land, do you just toss it, or do you go back and retool it? What do you do?
I tried a few times before I toss it. If it don't work, and if it doesn't work in like the first 5 sets, maybe I'll put it aside, because it also could be like there's some jokes from my first year that I tried that weren't funny. That when I came back, a few years later, I had the tools to make it funny, because maybe it was a little too much of a traumatic thing that it was hard to make funny on stage. But yeah, sorry, you think I just lost my place.
Happens all the time, man.
Yeah, I work through it, and I give it about a week. If not, then I'll set it aside. But as the bit grows, I just keep adding just to make it funny. Typically, they say you want to laugh like every 7 to 15 seconds ish. It could be longer if the laugh at the end is bigger. There's no absolutes. But yeah, as long as I get consistent laughters, or I'm like just in the pocket, I don't mind a little silence. That's another level of stand-up that I just figured out probably a year or two ago. Just getting comfortable in the silence and giving myself room to create more. So, I have my set, right now I got about 40 minutes or so. And I know the jokes, I know the punchlines, but every time I go up on stage, I allow myself room to maybe add some tags or add to the joke in the moment on stage. So there's a little bit of improvisation, and it just helps me be more, it feels more like present in the moment. Because it gets tough when you're rocking the same set and you feel like you're trapped in it. And you kind of you lose the feeling, and then the crowd can feel that too.
Right. So you kind of use a good mix of strategies when you're on stage, it sounds like. And you're really big into engaging the audience and asking questions, right?
Yes, I like to ask questions. I'm cool with crowd work. I'm cool with, especially. It's scary.
Yeah, and I've always wanted, I was always afraid when I went to comedy clubs. I was afraid to sit too close to the front, because there's always that one comic that wants to drag you into their bit. It's like, dude, I just want to sit here and drink and listen and laugh. Don't comment on my fucking shirt, and don't ask me any questions. I just want to laugh. But I think it's good. You do it in a way where it actually kind of is well incorporated into your bit, and it's questions that are interesting and won't piss a lot of people off. So I like the way you use it as a strategy.
No, yeah. I like to keep it fun up there. I want to be silly. I don't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable. There was one time I had a heckler. One of my bits, it's on the more sexual end, and she was like, she just did not like it. The whole crowd was feeling it. They were laughing, and she kept talking out loud. Like, if you don't like something at a comedy show, you just don't say anything. But she kept talking, and I tried to ignore her, and she kept going. So finally, I'm like, lady, what are you doing? You're short circuiting out here. Like, she just kept like shaking her head, and then she was like, I don't like what you're talking about. Or she said,
okay, well then get the fuck out.
Yeah. So I finally was like, all right, well, what do you like to do in bed? And the whole, she's like in the middle, she's in the middle of the audience, and everybody just turns to her, and she just got quiet. And I was like, if you want to talk, we can keep talking. And everyone started clapping, and I got out of that one. That was probably one of my best heckles.
I love it.
Yeah.
Man, isn't it incredible how hecklers have become such a prominent fixture in comedy and even in politics, especially over the years? I feel like the most famous heckler of all time now is Will Smith. I mean, there's nothing he can do after this that will overshadow that moment with Chris Rock. He could go on the moon and film a movie, and we would still be like, but why you slap that man, though?
He just posted something where today I saw he's like in Antarctica or something like that. I'm like, he's really trying to get back in the good graces. But yeah,
we're not going to forget, sir. No.
Yeah, especially the way he did it, because he laughed at the joke, and then all of a sudden he looked at his wife and he was like, oh, I gotta do this. But why slap Chris Rock? He's like 5'2", 130 pounds. It was just weird. The whole thing was weird. Yeah.
I just thought that was so messed up, and he needs to get out of that toxic marriage. He really does. He knew that shit was funny, and then he looked over at her, and she's going to have that scowl. We would just would have had to talk about that at home.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. He didn't want to get in trouble. I've seen it before. If you get with the wrong woman, it will put you in compromising situations.
Right. And a close second to Will Smith would be that heckler who threw a beer can at, what was her name? Was it Elias or something like that? The chick.
Yes.
Would you not have fucked him up? I mean, the show would have been over.
Yeah, 100%. And I was a Division I wrestler. I was a cage fighter for a little bit. Like I feel like I just did that to train me for hecklers in case they try to rush me on the stage.
Oh my God. No, I don't understand hecklers. Like, who in the hell goes to a comedy show with the intent to be an asshole? And I don't buy that, oh, they were drunk. Alcohol, I feel like it just amplifies who you already are. And I think it was a guy that did this. And you're going to throw a full beer can at a young lady who's just out there trying to live her dream and make people laugh? Like, what? That's so messed up.
And she was so nice about it too. She was like, "Hey, we're all here together. I don't care who you voted for, things like that." And she was, I guess she voted for Trump, the lady in the crowd. And I'm like, man, typically that side is complaining about people that can't take jokes, and now you're out here throwing beer cans. Come on, like,
right?
It's wild.
It was crazy. I think my natural reflex would have been, of course, to duck the can, but immediately after that, I would have ran into the crowd. And especially if I could see who did it. But it just would have been on. The jokes would have stopped. I feel like nowadays every single comedian has to have this heckler procedure kind of locked and loaded. Do you have one in terms of definitively what you're going to do? Do you know where is the line for you?
For me, anything like that, high stakes situation, I just got to be present. I can't be thinking about what I'm going to say. I just got to be present and listen, and then typically things will come. So I'll ask questions. And from there, I'll find like my point where I can make it funny, and also make sure that the crowd's on my side. Like if you're having a good show and somebody bothers it, that makes it very easy because they're like, come on, we're out here having a good time. He tried to give you a chance, so they're on your side. If the crowd's not on your side, then you just got a lot of work to do. But for me, I just got to be present, even when I go on stage, and typically it works itself out.
Yeah, totally agree. So I want to kind of switch gears and talk about your podcast because I listened to a few episodes. It's a really great podcast. It's very entertaining. It's funny as hell. How long have you been doing your show, and kind of what gravitated you toward this particular platform in addition to the stand-up shows that you do?
So it's been running about 4 years now. And wow. I jumped on it because that was, a lot of comedians at the time. I think I started in 2017, I believe, something like that.
Oh, man.
2018. And comedians had podcasts, and I was like, throughout my life, I've just been in these situations. This is before even podcasts existed, whatever, where I'll be talking to a stranger, having a really good conversation, either on a plane, train, whatever. And in my head, I would think, damn, I wish I could have had this recorded. This is an awesome conversation. I had that multiple times throughout my life. So when I knew podcasting existed and the barrier to entry is so low, you just gotta, it's easy to figure out. I was like, this seems like a good avenue. When I first started the show, I did a lot more like entrepreneurs, just like different walks of life. And as time goes on, now I try to keep it more towards relationships if I can. I'll do some current event stuff, but I typically try to keep it to relationships. That's so with a podcast, I have flexibility to change the style and the theme and all that. So today we're doing more relationship stuff than we had before, probably in the last year or so. So
yeah, I noticed that you have a good mix of topics and you switch it up. And I've heard you or seen on your podcast where you refer to certain episodes as Dolocast. What is that?
So that's just me going solo, just dolo. It's just me just on the mic talking about a topic or a couple different topics. So I just wanted to delineate between, like, because most of them are conversations with other people, but then I have those solo ones just like for the people that like them. You know, some people can't just listen to one person talk. Other people are like, no, this is great. I actually like this more. So I have a little bit mix of both, of conversations and then solos.
Right. Well, I mean, the good thing is that regardless of the topic, you always find a way to make it funny and entertaining. But, you know, there was one episode in particular that stood out to me. You were, I wouldn't say emotional, but you were very candid about recently finding out about one of your close friends having brain cancer and with a low chance of survival. And basically that entire episode was you sort of just trying to reconcile that news. How is your friend, I think his name is Christian, how is he doing these days, and how did that news about his diagnosis impact your friendship?
It impacted our friendship. I mean, we talk more. I feel like I'm learning more about life just in talking to him and like appreciating the small moments. Things have progressed pretty quick for him in the last couple months. So he's lost function on his left side, his right leg, left leg. So he has to travel in a wheelchair now. But one thing that came out of it is that we are talking a lot more, and he's tasked me with the honored responsibility of he's creating like a video log for his daughter. So he has a separate YouTube channel called The Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer, where he kind of updates all his friends and family on the progression of everything, because he got tired of like phone calls every week.
Awesome. Yeah.
So he just sends people there, but then he has another project that's just for his daughter for later. He's not gonna be public, but where he just there's a topic and we just talk about it. So like one of them this week we did one on finance. Another one we did one on education, and he just gives her his thoughts on education and how he thinks, if she wants to take the advice, how he thinks she should proceed with whatever topic we're talking about. So we're mending relationships, finances, education, anything that we're trying to do 100 episodes of that. So he has an idea so his daughter has an idea of who his dad is, and not just watching the other YouTube where you're watching the progression, so there's a little bit more laughter and just like it's uniquely it's deeply philosophical with some silly in there. So it's good.
I love it. I love how he took it and kind of flipped it a bit and not made it this whole woe is me. Not to say that it's very woe is me, but he seemed to take a different approach to it and make it informative, find a way to engage family and friends and his children in a way that's not so doom and gloom, but, really gives them hope. And then, God forbid, if anything happens to him, they have this, all of these videos where he's talking about numerous different topics. And, that's something that they always can refer back to. So I really like how he handled that unfortunate news.
Yeah, he's a great man. I met him a few years ago, and he's just, he's a person I look up to. He's like, I'm the oldest in my out of my siblings, and I look at Christian as an older brother. Like, when I talk to him, I want to have good news. Like, yo, I'm doing this, that. And he's always like, he'll go to a comedy show and he'll call me up and be like, yo, he's like, this dude opened up for Kevin Hart. I think you're funnier than him, man. You're on your way, bro. You keep going, keep working. Right. Like, he's always, he's ever since I met him, has just always been super supportive and not looking for anything in return other than like friendship and good times, like just authenticity and just there's no ulterior motives, anything like that. He just wants to have a good time and meet good people, and he's done that. Like he's connected so many people, so many good people. It's really, really sad that he's the friend that got cancer, I'll be thinking, like, why couldn't it be the friend that owes me $400? Why couldn't he get cancer?
Right. I mean, we don't want that on anybody, but I definitely understand.
I'm joking.
Like, why this guy of all people? But, he just sounds like, just an awesome friend. Anyone would be lucky to have a friend like Christian. So I hate that he's going through this, but I really take a lot of solace in the way he is navigating it. And I think that's also inspiring other people who have similar diagnoses and are going through other things. They see how he's reacting to this, and it encourages them to also take that same approach. But Freddie, we need to take a quick commercial break. But when we return, what I want to do is take a page from your book and play a few rounds of Ask Me Anything and kind of find out what we can expect from this breakout comedy star in 2023. So hang tight, folks. We will be right back.
Jade, I've got a surprise adventure you're gonna love.
Really?
We're gonna swim with Sally the tiger cub. Even get a photo with her that you can share with all your friends.
I don't want to go, Mom.
You feel all right, Jade? I thought you'd love this.
I'm okay, but I feel terrible for those poor tiger cubs. Did you know that they're stolen from their mothers the day they're born?
What?
Yeah. How'd you feel if someone kidnapped me at birth?
Well...
And when the cubs do normal things like nip and paw, they're punished so they'll sit still for photos. And how would you feel if you were a baby and they pushed you into a deep pool to swim for your life?
I never thought about it that way.
And when they get too big to pet, they end up being imprisoned in tiny cages.
Where'd you learn all that?
From StopBigCatAbuse.com.
Studies show that children who learn compassion for animals show more compassion for humans. So teach your children well. Learn more at StopBigCatAbuse.com.
Hey, ladies. Have you ever dated a married man? Have you ever thought to yourself, that would never be me? Have you ever wondered, how could she? Have you ever said, she should be ashamed of herself? Well, I used to say those same things. And I've pointed fingers that I don't point anymore. Because now, I am that other woman. What do you do when you meet a man that makes you question everything you thought was wrong? Where do you go when life has led you into a dark place where society frowns upon you and even your own mother is disappointed in you? Who do you turn to for guidance and support when there's no one you can share your secret with? Life is more complex than the list of rules you've been taught throughout the years. Situations are not always black and white. Sometimes your mind and your heart don't want the same thing, and you find yourself in a battle between right and wrong. I never understood how women got themselves in these situations until I was that woman. We don't always seek the circumstances we end up in. Although many people may not understand, there are some that do. If you ever find yourself dealing with a forbidden love, How to Date a Married Man, 10 Rules of Engagement, written by Dr. Andre Jerry, is a must-read. It's not comprised of judgments and lectures, but rather rules of engagement that you must apply when you find yourself the other woman in his life. Ready to learn more? The controversial new book, How to Date a Married Man, 10 Rules of Engagement, written by relationship expert Dr. Andre Jerry, is now available for sale exclusively on Amazon and Kindle.
You're back live with Dr. Andre Jerry.
All right, everybody, welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're live tonight with the rom-com Don himself and apparently one of the best-dressed comedians in the Raleigh-Durham area, Freddy Valoy. So, Freddie, before we went to break, we promised the viewers we'd play a few rounds of Ask Me Anything, which if any of you follow Freddie on IG, you know that's one of his go-to prompts for his IG stories, which are awesome, by the way. And I think you even had an Ask Me Anything episode on Fred Talk, right?
Yes, I answered a couple of them on Instagram, but I took the bulk of the questions on my podcast. So instead of the responses being a minute long, I had a little bit more time to just keep riffing on, my responses and all that. So,
right. It was an awesome show. So, yeah, it's just a fun way to kind of get inside your head a little bit. So, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, our first Ask Me Anything question. If you had a gay best friend and he asked you to, would you pretend to be his boyfriend at a social event so he wouldn't look like the sad, lonely gay guy?
Absolutely. 100%. Like,
I love
it. Just because I like new experiences and just that whole, I feel like we're tricking everybody. Yeah, we'll go in arms crossed. I'm not going to kiss him or anything like that, but, I'll easily.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So that just means you're a great best friend. So that's totally awesome. All right. Second question. Why, and when I ask this, I don't disagree, but why is Adam Levine a schmuck?
Oh, because he cheated on his wife. Come on, that's just, And then also when you look through the text messages, you would think his texting game was a lot better. It was just very corny. Like, just like, oh my God, your body's so hot. Yeah. Like, it was just real corny.
So this was a whole drama. See, I don't keep up with celebrity news and stuff. So he had a wife and he cheated on her, and then the text got leaked.
Yes. Yeah. The girl leaked the text messages, and I just expected a little bit more from Adam Levine. But then you got to think about it. A lot of musicians, they were music dorks in high school, and that, you don't never really grow out of that. I'm a dork in a different way, but that when I remembered that, I had a little more empathy for the guy. But he did cheat on his wife, so that still classifies him as a schmuck.
Well, I agree. I considered him a schmuck before I found out this information. But
that's great.
He sings that music that just, I don't like when music comes off like corporate music. Like anything to me by the Black Eyed Peas or what's his name? The Weeknd, or what's the other guy? Who I sometimes get annoyed with him because I can't tell if he looks like a lesbian to me. I'm like, are you a lesbian or are you just look
Bruno
gay
Mars.
or Bruno Mars?
Yeah.
I think his music is corporate, and I don't like it. Every time I hear it, I just I have to turn. I just have to turn.
I'm with you on that.
But Adam Levine, yes, totally.
Yeah, it's like corporate pop music. Like they know. Yeah, they know the formula. They're like, we do this beat with a guy that looks like this, and it's gonna work. Like,
right. Okay. So the next question: what is your obsession with anime?
Oh my God! Oh, I love this question. So you could already tell I'm obsessed. So, anime to me is like, it's gotten me closer to God. If that, like, because a lot of our stories. I've been an atheist for a long time, but a lot of our stories and movies, all that, like the hero's journey, we see that a lot in movies. A lot of those stories are, or the story arc is derived from the Bible, and you could see a lot of that in that, and people learn from that. So I feel like for me, anime is like very inspirational. It gets me up, it gets me going, gets me to the gym, pushes me to be my best self. And that first happened to me when I was a teenager. I just started wrestling, so I was in like training mode, and I got put onto Dragon Ball Z. And that whole thing is just, the main character's trying to be the strongest. He's just throwing hands. And that was in line with just kind of like how I was living my life. And then I've been kind of on and off, same thing with like Marvel comics, DC comics. Throughout my life, I'd read comics and kind of be on and off. And then recently, I was, this was last year, I was like, man, I hadn't watched anime in, almost a decade or something like that. So I was like, man, let me get back on anime, see what's up. And I remember I was sitting in my house and I was about 25 pounds heavier than I am now. And I was watching the main character, who's a young kid, go after his dreams. And I was sitting there the whole time. I'm like, look at this child going after his dream. And I'm over here sitting in my couch eating Chinese food for the third day in a row. Haven't been to the gym in weeks. And it got me motivated. So I've literally just been for like a year straight on my downtime. Whenever I have time, that's typically what I watch is anime. It's just cool, you know, especially those badass moments where they're shooting like an energy ball. But also from a writing standpoint, it doesn't, because here's the thing, when I was watching, you know, I watched stuff with my girl or whatever, I could predict what's going to happen in the movie. Oh, this is that, you know, I just saw it coming, so it took a lot of the surprise out for me. Whereas like anime, I wasn't familiar with the tropes. And there's some just really good storytelling there. I love it so much.
I had no clue. But, I mean, listening to you explain it, I now at least I get your obsession with it because I've watched it here and there, usually when I'm hanging out with my nephew, Brian. But I never got it. But I appreciate you breaking it down. I can, if it does all of that, then definitely you have a right to be obsessed over it. Would you rather give up anime or porn?
Porn. I already gave up porn, so that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
that's easy.
Okay. All right, we're going to keep it rolling. Name something a woman could do on the first date with you that will make you delete her number.
Be rude to the service staff or something. Like, be rude. That's easy. I'll stop the date right there. I'll be like, listen, you got to go. I'll pay for your Uber.
Yeah, that's a hard stop.
Yeah, that's hard stop for me. Sure. I used to be a server too. I'll be like, I don't even know this person.
Who even does that now? Except, what's that chick from, what is that show? Key and Peele, when he dresses up like that woman, and she's always being like rude. Yeah, is it Meg or something? And he would be like, God, Meg, what are you doing? And then she would just be such a bitch to like the server or anyone that, you know, I don't know. But yeah, that's a hard stop for me. I don't like when anyone is rude to wait staff, flight attendants, anything like that. It's just no. But,
100%. Yeah. What's one of yours? What's one of your hard stops?
Answering a phone call in the middle of a date. Now, unless it's your mom or kids or something like that, but if you're just answering a call like, hello? Oh, hey, girl, bye. I don't like that. Okay, so I used to do this, but then someone that I was dating kind of put me on to, it's somewhat rude. I know people don't do this now, but it's rude to be on the phone with someone and then to click over and answer another call. Like, if you're on the phone with someone, unless it's just an emergency, you just need to call that person back. So when I'm on the phone with someone and someone puts me on hold to answer another call, I'm kind of, not saying I'll cut them off, but it's kind of like, I don't like that, you know?
You better, there better be closing a business deal or, like you said, talking is an emergency with the family or something like that. If I'm close friends, they could switch over, but if I'm talking to a girl trying to get to know her, I'm going to want, that's just weird. Especially another thing would be if I'm on a date and it's like one-word responses. And like not really into it kind of thing. Like, I need a girl to like be able to hold a conversation for me to proceed. During my early 20s, you'll put up with a lot more just to try to close at the end of the night, and I don't have the patience, or I don't even have the want for that type of life anymore. You're just putting up with hot girl stuff. You're like, if I just ride the clock out, I'm gonna get laid. Like, nope.
Right. I'm with you on that. Okay, we'll do a few more. Android or iPhone, and is it a deal breaker for you in relationships?
I am an iPhone user, and I don't really know. It's not a deal breaker for me at all. I don't even like being in group chats. So when people are like, I want to get an Android just so people don't invite me to group chats, but I'm not a team anything. I just happen to have an iPhone. But nah, I feel like girls that have Android are probably better in bed too, honestly. So that really, better than iPhone users.
Okay. All right. Well, we can't end this without talking about Love is Blind. Okay, season 3.
Oh,
I
gosh.
can't stand this show, but one of my good friends, Craig, made me watch it, and I have to say it was entertaining. Okay, so just a few things before, and then I'll let you weigh in. I could not stand Batiste. I knew he was going to punk out at the last minute. I knew he was going to do it. He just looked like a piece of shit to me.
Yes.
And the jokester guy, I don't know his name, but apparently he said a lot of dumb shit, and then they played it all back at the end, and I think he got dumped at the end too. Then there was, I didn't like Miss Yoga. What was her name? She was with the Nigerian dude. I didn't like her.
Oh, okay, all right.
I just felt like she was like fame hungry or something. She wasn't in it for the right reason. I did feel bad when he didn't choose her at the end, but I wasn't feeling her up until that. I was like, you're full of shit, kind of.
Yeah, so
And then one last thing I'll say before I let you, I didn't like that alpha female chick. I don't know if was she Iranian or whatever. She just was very stoic and just looked kind of like, almost like she could be a lesbian. And she also looked like she would kick the guy's ass if he got out of line. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. All right. So I'll start with Bartiz. I definitely saw what you saw there. Definitely, like, he was a fuckboy. He's a 25-year-old gym bro. So
yes.
At this point, I mean, if you're a woman in her 30s, if you're 30 and you get with a 25-year-old gym bro, you should know what's going to go down. Like, this is, you know what I'm saying? Light-skinned dude too. The world is his oyster. I definitely saw that he was going to be into it. He seemed fame hungry. Goofy dude and an Arab uptight girl.
Yes.
I did not like her. I thought they just were very incompatible. He was like an open, creative mindset type, and she was just very closed off and just not. Yeah, she was just not fun. I bet you they'll be way better with somebody else. And then I'm glad they showed that
didn't
footage.
They get married?
No, they didn't. The girl turned him down, and then she had her friends like storm out.
Oh.
And the way they stormed out, you could tell it was planned because one of the friends looked back in a way like, motherfucker, like, you're like, it was very much like that. I was like, oh, this was planned. It was just very weird, and I'm glad they showed. She was very, and I'm sure, her mom died early. So when you have to be an adult too early, things happen. I understand that, but she just took everything the wrong way. Even she made it seem like he was commenting on her eating habits. Mm-hmm. And when they showed the footage at the end, it was not that. He was telling her, hey, why are you eating those? We're going to eat a big-ass meal later at this restaurant. You could tell it was like probably his favorite restaurant where they go and pig out. And he was just like, trust me, save your appetite. And she flipped it on some, he's telling me not to eat these oranges because I gained weight. And that was not it. So I'm so glad.
Yeah, you tried it.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad they showed that footage. And then Israeli girl and skinny dude, they were my favorite. I was like, oh, they love each other. They're awesome. But by the reunion episode, I jumped off because they were too, like, almost like they could tell they were the best couple, and they started almost like talking down to the other people. And then the dude was like unjustifiably just like siding with the woman and beating up on that dude Cole. And Cole was crying. He got
you don't do that.
Yeah, he got wrongfully. I think you do that if it's justified. If what happened, but that's not what happened, and they just jumped on him. I thought that was so unfair. And then the last couple, the Nigerian dude and curly hair girl, yoga girl, she was my least favorite at the beginning, and then by the end, because you saw a shift in her energy. She went from like closed off, and I was with you. I'm like, oh, she's an Instagram girl looking for fame, whatever. Mm-hmm. Then on the boat ride, you saw a shift. That was the first time you saw them kiss, and the way they kissed, I was like, oh damn, she's like into him. So when I found out at the reunion episode that they actually stayed together, even though they declined the marriage, when they decided to to stay together. I was like, oh, they ended up being my favorite couple by the end of the reunion. So I hope they stay together, and I hope they work it out. So that was. But I like watching those shows because although it's like semi-scripted, I look at it as a good character study. You know, you're watching in on other people's drama and how they would handle it. And when I watch it, I like to pause it. I like to watch it with somebody else, and I like to pause it and be like, all right, what do you think just went on there? Do you believe them? Do you think he's lying? Like, try to see if you could catch micro expressions or whatever. So it's a fun little like game for me to watch those shows.
Yeah, it was interesting. I wanted to hate it at first, but I had to agree that it was really good. And I don't know, the Nigerian guy and the yoga girl, I was hoping that at the end that he would, I just felt like he should focus on his career. I just don't think she was quite ready, nor do I wasn't sure if she was the right fit. But maybe if they date a few more years and then, you know, if they still feel like they want to get married, then maybe go ahead. But I don't know. It's a very interesting show. And I kind of Googled it a little bit today, and I found out that filming is already completed for season 4. I think you should audition to be a cast member for season 5. Would you be interested in that?
I can do that now. Yeah. I actually, I think I would.
Wow. You'd be great on that show.
Yeah, I would. That would be a lot of fun. Just because, I think it would be a lot of fun to be on that. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Wow. Well, hey, we put it out there. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Well, Freddie, we're getting really close to having to wrap up this episode, but while we still have a few minutes, tell our listeners about your upcoming shows and what you got next in store for you for 2023.
So 2023, I'm actually moving to New York in February to really pursue this stand-up comedy. I had some projects I was going to release in January, but some things happened and I got to push them off. But Date Live will be back in the spring, and that's my show where I interview single people for like 10 minutes. And I make it a very fun conversation, ask them some fun questions, and if any of the viewers like them, they could slide in their DMs. So that'll be coming back next year. So just follow me on Instagram at Freddy Valoy, my first and last name. Like you said, I'm a fun follow. I ask relationship questions. I ask silly questions. But that'll be where I keep people posted on what's coming up for me, in the future.
Right. Definitely follow Freddie on Instagram. His stories are the best. They're very thought-provoking questions, very funny. I respond to pretty much most, all of them. But yeah, really great follow. So definitely check them out on social media. We're going to go ahead and wrap this show for the night, folks. But be sure to join me for my next episode, which airs Wednesday, January 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern. I want to say good night to everybody, and I want to thank again Freddy Valoy for being on the show today. We had a great time. I hate to wrap it up, but everyone have a safe and happy New Year. Take care, everybody.